Welcome to 4SA's weekly update. And today, this is Michael Swain, Executive Director of 4SA, and I'm speaking with our attorney, Nobukhosi Zulu, who is going to help us go through some of the most important and perhaps immediate issues that we're facing in the fight for faith and freedom. So, Nobu, great to see you and really delighted that you're part of the 4SA team. Without more ado, what I want to ask you about is something which we've obviously been very engaged with these past few weeks, which is the spy bill. Maybe you can just give us an update of where we are on that and where we're going to be going in the future.
Thanks, Michael. I'm excited to be here with you too. So, as you know, 4SA was working very hard with all our partners to ensure that there were submissions that were made to Parliament towards this Bible. And this deadline for submissions, it closed on the 15th of February, which was last week, Thursday. And 4SA did make some submissions. And we want to thank everybody who took their time to make their submissions and who went onto our website and everybody who went onto the South Africa website and make submissions there. And at the close of business, at the close of the submissions, there were about 23,300 submissions that had been made, which is a huge number, and it's a great testament of our commitment to public participation. And the three main concerns that were made for those who were not in favor of the bill in those submissions was that they were not in favor of any loss to meaningful right to privacy. There were people are not in favor with the establishment of a very unaccountable and invasive system of state surveillance. And so for SA, we will continue to monitor the progress of the bill at this stage, and we'll keep everybody updated as it's sitting with the ad hoc committee. And as soon as there's any new development, we'll let everybody know how they can come alongside to make sure that this doesn't become the state of our nation. And
Excellent.
the spy bill really is a testament of the type of work that 4SA does. But there's another piece of work that 4SA really worked hard on, which is the marriage bill. And Michael, perhaps you can provide us with an update on that.
Yes, well, we've been involved in the marriage bill ever since they first decided to revisit the policy on marriages, because we have in this country currently different pieces of legislation that govern marriage. And of course, there were some gaps in that as well. And so they produced a policy which we were by and large in favor of. And the marriage bill that is now under consideration is a reflection to a large extent of that policy. So that was where we were happy. Where we weren't happy was the fact that in the first draft of this marriage bill, there was no express clause which protected the conscientious religious rights of religious marriage officers. And we felt very strongly, and our constituency felt very strongly, that there had to be that express protection, because without that, it could leave open the possibility that maybe you can be compelled as a religious marriage officer to solemnize marriages that go contrary to your conscience and beliefs and tenets of your faith. Well, the good news is that in this latest draft, they have now included a clause expressly protecting the conscientious rights of religious marriage officers. So that's a big win. And thank you for everybody who participated, who sent in your submissions, who lobbied along with us. That was absolutely fantastic. The one thing certainly that we're going to be continuing to push for, we want everybody to support us in that when this bill comes open for comment again, is that we believe that state marriage officers, in other words, people who are employed by the state, they also have religious freedom rights, and they should also be protected, and they should also never be forced to compromise their conscience and beliefs. So that was a big win. So well done, everybody, for that. And that kind of brings us to the next big thing that we're doing now, Noble, which is, of course, really drawing people's attention to the forthcoming school governing body elections. Now, these are elections that basically take place once every 3 years, and they literally decide the culture and the context and even the value systems that apply within each and every public school. So, Noah, you're a parent. So maybe start off by telling us, why is it so important for parents to be involved in school governing bodies?
Thanks, Michael. I think many parents don't really understand their role as parents and the difference in the responsibilities that the state has towards their children and their rights and responsibilities as parents towards their children, in particular towards their education. And the first thing that's important for parents to know is that they are the key and main custodians of their children's education and not the state. And the role of the state is to provide an environment where the children learn, provide the facilities using your own taxpayers' money to make sure that there's school buildings, that teachers are paid, that there's textbooks and curriculums and all those things. But that does not mean that the state has the sole responsibility and power over your children's education. And parents, we do not simply hand over our children to the state when we leave them at school and kind of hope for the best without any further involvement. We have a right as parents, and South Africa's legal framework is very specific and very unique in that it envisions the partnership between state and parents and gives the parents very broad powers in being able to decide, what type of influence their children receive at those schools. And as a person of faith, for myself as a Christian, I'm very interested and very concerned with what it is that my child is learning. And I wanted to be clear that my beliefs and my value systems and my tax money is used to ensure that my children get the type of education that speaks to myself as a family and speaks to our community. And I think a big way to do that is through the SGB elections. And so, Michael, maybe you can tell us a bit more. What powers do the SGBs have? If I want to get into an SGB, what are my powers as a parent, as a member of the SGB?
Well, the answer to that is your powers are significant because parents, first of all, are always the majority of the members who sit on the school governing body, and a parent is always the chairperson of the school governing body. And that's a reflection of the fact that it is parents and not the state and not the headmaster and not the teaching staff who actually have the right to educate your children. So they have significant powers. And just some of the key ones, because school governing bodies are very much the watchmen and the gatekeepers of public schools. So the first thing that they do is they guide the school's culture, the climate. They can decide its vision, its mission, its ethos, its values, codes of behavior, dress policies. And very importantly, they also write policies for whether or not or how religious observances can take place. So imagine a pastor being able to come into the school and address the assembly. Well, that's allowed if the school governing body writes a policy which allows it. Then, of course, very importantly, there is this big distinction between the curriculum that government sets, in other words, what they want taught in the schools and even what outcomes they want children to have achieved in each subject at each level of grade. But particularly when it comes to subjects with value systems, like, for example, life skills and life orientations, it's the school governing body that decides on the content that is taught. You don't have to simply take what government give you. So that's a very key way of making sure that the ethos of the school, the value system of the school, reflects that of the parents. And then, of course, in line with that, they can also have the power to appoint and promote teachers. So there are obviously teachers who are ideologists, if you like, and you don't have to employ a teacher or promote a teacher who is contrary to the ideology of the parents of the school, because they obviously are going to have a key influence on what is taught and how your children are taught. And then another very important thing is that they can also determine how the school facilities are used. And of course, as we know, many religious organizations use school facilities on a Sunday. They rent them from the school, which is great. And of course, that brings extra income into the school and that gets used for the benefit of all the learners. So the active participation and the governance of the school by parents is absolutely crucial. And remember, this election will set that climate and that ethos and that culture for 3 years. 3 years. And if you as a parent who maybe are a parent of faith who has values that you want to see upheld, if you don't get involved, well, somebody else is going to be deciding that for your child. So we absolutely encourage people to get involved. And again, Nobu, because you've done a bit of research on this, I know, how do parents who may want to get involved do exactly that?
So getting involved in your SGB at your school, it's actually much easier than a lot of people, think. It's not an election. You're not running for president of a country. So it's a lot easier than that. There's a few things that you do need to make sure in order to be able to be involved in the SGB. The first thing is you need to make sure that your name is on your school's voters roll. Otherwise, you just simply won't be able to stand as a member for the SGB or to vote in the election. And the school must provide all parents with the voters roll before the election. So if your name is not on that voters roll, just contact the school immediately as soon as possible and ensure that it's added. And then the second thing that you need to make sure is you need to ask the school to give you all the details about all the nomination and the election process for the SGBs. If you as a parent want to stand as a member of the SGB, which we highly encourage, ask for the nomination form. The school must confirm when and where and or how the nomination and the election meetings are going to be held, whether it's going to be in person or online. And they must make it very clear what the requirements are and the steps for the nomination entail and how many candidates each parent can vote for. Just make sure that you can walk away from the school with all the information that you need to be able to participate, to stand, to nominate, to be nominated, or to vote. A third thing that you want to make sure is to make sure if you are standing, please don't forget to submit your nomination form and have your motivation ready as to why you make a valuable contribution to the SGB in the school. And this is not something difficult. You can just speak of yourself as a parent who wants to be involved in their children's education. And even if you're not standing as a candidate in your school's SGB, we highly encourage you to please vote. Go and vote and support another parent who is willing to serve in that role, and find the parents that share the same vision and mission and want to parent the children the same as you, and put your vote behind those people. And it's so important, I think, especially in this current climate, to not leave your children's education in the hands of others. Participate, vote, nominate yourself, nominate your friend, talk amongst yourselves in your community, because this is the best way to make sure that the best interests of the children in our school communities are taken care of. And it's also a really good way for parents to ensure that their children achieve the highest level of education and parents' expectations of what makes a school met. Studies have shown repeatedly that the more a parent is involved in their child's education, the higher the educational outcomes of that child. And a key way to be involved in your child's education is to be involved in the SGB elections. So, Michael, where can those people who are interested in doing this, where can they find more information?
Well, the best and easiest way is going to be to go to the forsa.org.za website. There's going to be obviously links in the description of this video. But very importantly, don't delay, because these elections take place nationwide in March. So we have little time to get involved. If you want to get involved, don't delay. Make sure that you do. But you can go to our website as well, obviously, forsa.org.za. Then we have a Facebook page, Freedom of Religion SA, and we have a YouTube channel. So sign up for our newsletter. We have a WhatsApp group as well. Stay informed, stay on top, and we thank you for your stand with us in the fight for faith and freedom. This is Michael Swain of 4SA. Remember to like and share this video, and then click on the subscribe button to make sure that you never miss our video updates on vital religious freedom issues.